Hey guys, Mr. Zern here with another Python demo. So let's get started with just a little bit of review here. All right, so I'm going to start by, we want to declaring variables. All right, so declaring a variable, simple enough. We just need to give it a name. So how about number variable 1 equals, and I'm going to say the number 6. And then let's declare a second variable, number variable, oops, there we go, 2 equals, it really be anything, but I'll say 5 in this case. So a couple things here. One, so, to declare a variable, it's going to be a word, like a single word. It could be multiple words, but no spaces. You could use an underscore if you want, but you can't do a space. All right, so I've got number variable equals, and I've got an integer. Number variable 2 equals another integer. It could be a float. It could be a Boolean. It could be a string. Could really be anything. In this case, I'm just simply declaring some integers there. All right, so just some quick and easy review. This type of naming sequence there, lowercase, and then each letter of the next word starting with a capital letter is camel case, but just a little bit of review. All right, so again, a little hashtag action here, so just hashing something out. So here's something new. So doing math functions. All right, so let's do some math functions in Python. So print, right, we know that, and I could say 6 plus 5. Now, let's print that, and you're going to see, I'm going to run the program, and basically 6 plus 5, and Python simply added those two integers together, giving us the number 11. So we could do that. Let's take a look at it another way. So we could do print, hey, print number variable, all right, plus number variable 2. So I've got number variable 1 plus number variable 2. So let's run that program. And you're going to see it printed 11, and it printed 11 again, just because those are the same. So it took the number variable 1, which was a 6, and it added it to number variable 2, which was a 5. All right, so there's some simple arithmetic. Let's do it a different way. So number variable 1 minus number variable 2. All right, so just some simple math here. So this time we're subtracting the 2, and we can see that, hey, so 6 minus 5 is in fact 1. All right, let's try that another way here. So let's print again, and in this case, I'm going to have number variable 1 times, and we're going to use an asterisk, right? So that's going to be shift and the number 8 from number variable 2. Let's run that. And we can see 30, right? So 6 times 5 is 30. All right, let's do one more simple math problem here. Let's spell print right. All right, so number variable 1 divided by number variable 2. So let's run that problem. And we're going to see 1.2. So 6 divided by 5 is 1.2. All right, so there's something new. So doing some simple math functions in Python. All right, so let's, again, how about just a teeny bit of review here? And so user declared variables. All right, so I want to have the user declare some variables. So I could say, in this case, I'm just going to simplify it a little bit. Number 3 equals, and here, instead of me just creating the variable, the user is going to have the chance to declare the variable. So I'm going to add the word input. So input, and then I'm going to say, hey, pick a number. And I'm going to add a little space there between the colon and the quotation mark, so and you'll see why in a moment. So I'll hit print, and run, I should say, and it says pick a number, and you can see 6 pops up. Now I'm going to do that again. And again, all that point, all it's doing is it simply took the number 6, and the number 3 variable is storing that. So let's say number 4 equals input, and I'm going to say, quotation mark, pick another number. Now this time I'm not going to put that space in there like I did here. So there's a space here, but no space here. Let's just see how that works out differently. So pick a number, 6. Pick another number. You can see 7 and the colon get mashed together. So that's why it's always good to add that space there. All right, so that's going to store that number there. And let's print something out here and say print. And I'm going to say, hey, print number 3 plus number 4. All right, so let's run that. Pick a number, 6. All right, pick a number, 7. And whoa, look at that, 67. It didn't add them together at all. It just simply took a 6 and it took a 7 and it just strung them together, making the number 67. So that's not good at all. So we actually have to do something a little special to make that actually a number, or in this case, an integer, because Python is just thinking of that 6 and that 7 and not as integers or floats, but they're technically integers, but instead as a string. And so really, there's no different than saying me or run this a little bit differently. This time I'm going to pick, instead of a number, I'm going to pick a letter, H, E, and you can see it makes the word he. And so it just strings those letters together. And so we need to have Python think of this not as a string, but as an integer. So how do we make that happen? So let's do something new here. First, how about just a teeny bit more review, and let's add a line break. Right, and so I'm just going to say, hey, print, and again, we've seen this before, and so that's just going to give me a line break. All right, now let's add something new here. So something new, I'm just going to hash that out. New, what are we doing? We're going to be wrapping the input to be a integer. There we go. Integer. All right, so what exactly does that look like? So let's change it just a little bit. So I'm going to set it up the same way as before. Number 5, so that's declaring my variable there, equals. Now before we did this, so just watch for a second. So we said, hey, input, and I said pick a number. Right, and added a space. Now, again, if I was to add that number, the computer is going to think it was a string and not as a number. So I want to wrap it as an integer. And so what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. So I put int and then put all of that inside of some parentheses. And so now the computer is going to think of that, again, not as a string, but as an integer. All right, so let's do that a second time. Number 6, declare my variable, and I'm going to say int, and I'm going to wrap it and say, hey, input, pick a second number. All right, so let's get ready to run that. And 6 plus 7 gives me 67. That's no good. 6, 7. Now nothing happened because we didn't print anything, but now the computer is thinking of those two as integers. So let's try this again here. So let's say, hey, print, and I want you to print number 5 plus number 6. All right, so let's run that. All right, 7, 8, 78, 7, and 8 gives me, 15. All right, so now the computer, that math there became very different. Instead of just stringing the two together, it actually added the two together. So that's some good stuff there. Now, I'm going to show you another thing or two here. So just something new that we can do with that. So new, right? And we want to store the solution as a variable. All right. So what does that look like? Hey, so I'm going to say store the solution as a variable. Oops. And let's fix that. There we go. Even better. Okay. So I'm going to say, hey, answer 1 equals. So I'm declaring a variable. And what I want to do is I'm just going to say, hey, take number 5 and then add it to number 6, and it's going to simply store that variable for me. Again, we're not going to see it happening, but now it's just going to simply store that 15, because here it just printed it, and now it's going to store it in number 1. I'm going to run it. We're not going to see any different in the program. 7, 8 gives me 78. 7, 8 now gives me 15, all right? And so it actually ran it again there, and so it's simply storing now. So now it's storing 15 as a variable, and I can do things with that a little later here. All right, so last new piece for today, new conditional statements. And then we're going to find out that indents are very important. All right, so we're going to see these indents here in action in a minute. All right, so Let's create a conditional statement. We know they're if else, else from before with Blockly and in App Inventor. So I'm going to type if. Let me scroll down a little bit. If answer 1. Okay. Now, equals means declaring a variable, but if I want to compare one variable to another variable, I use two equals in Python. So you can kind of think of if answer 1 is equals to, I don't know, I'm going to say 15 colon. That's pretty important. A lot of people forget that, and I'm going to hit enter. Notice it kind of tabbed me in a little bit automatically. So I'm going to say, hey, print, and we can string some things together here. I could say, hey, you entered, and I'm going to say comma, and we could put like number 5, add another string, and the number, and I could say, hey, add number 6, comma, and when you add them together, it equals 15. All right, so you entered, let me add a little more there. You entered the number, and it's going to, whatever number I put there, and the number 6, and when you add them together, it equals 15. So let's, I think it'll run without an error message. Let's find out. You picked 7. Let's say number 8, again, gives me 78. Let's do it again, 7, 8. Hey, and okay, that happens to equal 15. So it prints the statement. You entered the number 7 and the number 8, and when you add them together, it equals 15. All right, so that's cool. So that's if it equals. I'm going to hit enter, and then I delete it back so I can kind of start here. So now I can do an else if, and again, coders are typically pretty lazy folks. So anything that we can shorten up works great. Now I'm going to put in something different. You can put in answer 1 and have it do something different, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to say, hey, number 15, number 5. Now we could do equals, but in this case I could do, hey, if the number 5 variable is less than 15, colon, enter, and I could have it print something different. So for example, the first number you entered was less than 15. All right. So let's run that. I don't think it'll give me an error message if I pick a number 7, pick a number 8. Okay, 78, pick a number. Let's say 7. Let's say 8 again. And oops, they equal 15. Let's pick a different number so it doesn't equal 15. Sorry, 7, 7. All right, pick a number 7, 7. Ooh, the first, okay, so that equals 14. The first number you entered was less than 15. All right, cool. Now let's do, I'm going to hit enter and back there, and I'm going to add else, colon. Basically, if the number doesn't equal 15, and in this case, if number 15 isn't less than 15, I want to print. What are we going to say? I'm going to say, hey, the first number you entered was, and I'm going to say number 5 here. All right, and so I need to pick something greater than, all right. So 2021 gives me 2021. Pick a number. I'll say 20. I'll say 21. The answer is 41. The first number you entered was 20. So getting some feedback there. All right, so just kind of to recap what we took a look at there. Obviously, review declaring variables. So some word equals, and then whatever you put there. In this case, they were integers. So doing some math functions, pretty simple stuff. We can say, hey, print, and we can add the integer plus another integer. We could say, hey, take this variable plus this variable, as long as they're stored integers or floats. We can say, hey, take this variable minus this variable. We can say, take this variable times this variable. We can say, take a variable, divide by a certain variable. We can, a little farther down, if we want to ask for some user input, and we want to store it as a number, we're going to have to wrap it. So I have number 5, all right, number 5 variable equals int wrapped inside of int, pick a number. We can have it solve the problem there, right, and have it kind of prints it for us if we want, right? It's printing that for us. And then basically we've got some conditional statements. So, hey, if, and basically I've got a variable. So in this case, answer one, if answer one equals, 15, then, print this statement. You could do something different. You could have it equals something else. But in this case, I picked a different variable, else if number 5 variable. All right. So whatever I entered there is less than 15. I want you to print this statement. Else is basically if anything else happens, print this other statement there. All right. Good luck. And I'll talk to you guys later.